Okay, let's continue on with the rest of the story, and we're going to do the blue one this time, see what the deal up with that one. And also notice on the way here, there's I'm not quite sure if it will show up in the video, but in the distance there, it looks like some sort of power lines.
The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all of its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little. But someday, piecing together of disassociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and of our frightful position therein, that we shall either go mad from the revelation, or will flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. I shall never knowingly supply a link in so hideous a chain. I think that the professor too intended to keep silent regarding the part that he knew, and that he would have destroyed his notes had not sudden death seized him. My knowledge of the thing began in the winter of 1927 with the death of my granduncle, George Gamble Angel, Professor Emeritus of Semitic Languages in Brown University, Providence, Rhode Island. Professor Angel was widely known as an authority on ancient inscriptions and had frequently been resorted to by the heads of prominent museums, so his passing at the age of 92 may have been recalled by many. And as my granduncle's heir and executor, for he died a childless widower, I was expected to go over his papers with some thoroughness, and for that purpose moved his entire set of files and boxes to my quarters in Boston. The first half of the principal manuscript told a very peculiar tale. It appears that on March 1st, 1925, a thin, dark young man of neurotic and excited aspect had called upon Professor Angel bearing a singular clay bas-relief, which was then exceedingly damp and fresh. His card bore the name of Henry Anthony Wilcox, and he called himself psychically hypersensitive. The sculptor abruptly asked for the benefit of the host's archaeological knowledge in identifying the hieroglyphics on the bas-relief. He said, "It is new indeed, for I made it last night in a dream of strange cities, and dreams are older than brooding Tyre, or the contemplative Sphinx, or the garden-girdled Babylon."
So it seems that every time we do a different story, different things happen to appear, because with this guy it seems that those tower things over there appear, and for the girl, had those tentacle things, and like white tower things as well, and like different types of rocks, and also the mist. And then for the one with the white, it was what was it, the big tower, and then like different large rocks and stuff, so quite interesting.
It was then that he began that rambling tale which suddenly played upon a sleeping memory and won the fevered interest of my uncle. There had been a slight earthquake tremor the night before, and the most considerable felt in New England for some years, and Wilcox's imagination had been keenly affected. Upon retiring, he had the unprecedented dream of great cyclopean cities, of titan blocks and sky-flung monoliths, all dripping with green ooze and sinister with latent horror. Hieroglyphics had covered the walls and pillars, and from some undetermined point below came a voice that was not a voice. Chaotic sensation which only fancy would transmute into sound, but which he attempted to render by the almost unpronounceable jumble of letters.
Okay, it seems that with this guy, seems that there's going to be hieroglyphs, and like something obviously goes horribly wrong there. Because yeah, it was saying that there was like green ooze coming out of it, so it's going to be interesting.
Average people in society and business, New England's traditional salt of the earth, gave an almost completely negative result. Those scattered cases of uneasy but formless nocturnal impressions appear here and there, always between March 23rd and April 2nd, the period of young Wilcox's delirium. Scientific men were modestly affected, but it was from the artists and the poets that pertinent answers came, and I know that panic would have broken loose had they been able to compare notes. As was lacking in their original letters, I half suspected the compiler of having asked leading questions, or of having edited the correspondence in corroboration of what he had latently resolved to see.
There seems to be adding more stuff to those tower things, because there's more stuff going on to that. I'm concerned it was going to start building it. The story.
The responses from the estates told a disturbing tale. From February 28th to April 2nd, a large proportion of them had dreamed very bizarre things. The intensity of the dreams being immeasurably stronger during the period of the sculptor's delirium. Over a fourth of those who reported anything reported scenes and half-sounds not unlike those which Wilcox had described. And some of the dreamers confessed acute fear of the gigantic nameless thing visible towards the last.
Okay, it seems that I'm not getting bad dreams from the hieroglyphs. Like, since I discovered the hieroglyphs and all that, they unleashed like a sort of curse. Ooh, it looks like we'll be able to see some of those power lines that I saw earlier when I came across the first one. Kind of interesting. There's more forest.
His name was John Raymond LaGrasse, and he was by profession an inspector of police. With him, he bore the subject of his visit, a grotesque, repulsive, and apparently very ancient stone statuette, whose origin he was at a loss to determine. It must not be fancied that Inspector LaGrasse had the least interest in archaeology, and on the contrary, his wish for enlightenment had prompted by purely professional considerations. The statuette, idol, fetish, or whatever it was, had been captured some months before in the wooded swamps of South New Orleans during a raid of a supposed voodoo meeting. And so singular and hideous were the rites connected with it that the police could not but realize that they had stumbled on a dark cult totally unknown to them and infinitely diabolic.
Okay, so yeah, it's probably like some sort of like curse or something. Cause yeah, he's brought home like an idol and it's like, yeah. I'm still trying to find this next blue one. Guessing it must be somewhere in this forest. I probably have to get out because it's lagging a lot. So I almost got stuck there. Okay, I'm getting out of this forest because it's making my game lag a lot. Yeah, it's not liking this forest at all. I hope I find a clearing soon, so I can get a better look and see if I can find the next blue one. It looks like I'm getting through a clearing now. Awesome. Okay, so where's the next blue one? Okay, I hope it's not back in that forest. Yeah, otherwise it's going to lag a lot. Oh, no, there it is. Awesome. At least they made it like high enough so we're able to see it. It's kind of cool. And they made it like bright enough so we can actually see it all. Otherwise I'd be lost for hours trying to find it. We had to go back into the forest again. Yeah, so much lag. Does not like the forest. Get in and get out.
There were legends of a hidden lake unglimpsed by mortal sight, in which dwelt a huge, formless, white, pulpous thing with luminous eyes. And squatters whispered that bat-winged devils flew up out of the caverns in the inner earth to worship it at midnight. They said it had been there before d'Iberville, before La Salle, before the Indians, and before even the wholesome beasts and birds of the woods. It was a nightmare itself, and to see it was to die. But it made men dream, and so they knew enough to keep away.
Okay, on to the next one, which is in more forest. Oh god. Because my computer does not like this forest. Makes it lag a lot. Just need to get in and get out again. Oh my game lags too much. In and out. That's what she said.
Only poetry or madness could do justice to the noises heard by LaGrasse's men as they plowed on through the black morass toward the red glare and the muffled tom-toms. There are vocal qualities peculiar to men and vocal qualities peculiar to beasts, and it is terrible to hear the one when the source should yield the other. Animal fury and orgiastic license here whipped themselves into demonic heights by howls and squawking ecstasies that tore and reverberated through those nighted woods like pestilential tempests from the gulfs of hell.
It's kind of trying to keep an eye out for the blue one because I can't quite see it. I'm just trying to stay around this area because it seems to be like around this area, and our structure there is starting to get more and more. Yeah, it's like attaching itself to that thing. But I see it. It's over there. Looks like we've got a long track. I better hope that I can make it through this. Okay, almost there after a long, laggy trip there. Yeah, let's get to it before the world ends again. Get to it.
They worshipped,
Ooh.
so they said, the great old ones, who lived ages before there were any men, and who came to the young world out of the sky. Those old ones were gone now, inside of the earth and under the sea, but their dead bodies had told their secrets and dreams to the first men, who formed a cult which had never died. This was that cult, and the prisoners said it has always existed and always would exist, hidden in distant wastes and dark places all over the world, until the time when the great priest Cthulhu, from his dark house in the mighty city of R'lyeh under the water, should rise and bring the earth again beneath his sway. Someday, he would call, when the stars were ready, and the secret cult would always be waiting to liberate him.
Okay, not quite sure if that's supposed to be a glitch or not, but yeah, it was kind of creepy. Did not expect that to happen.
These great old ones were not composed altogether of flesh and blood. They had shape, for did not this star-fashioned image prove it? But that shape was not made of matter. When the stars were right, they could plunge from world to world through the sky. But when the stars were wrong, they could not live. They all lay in stone houses in the great city of R'lyeh, preserved by the spells of mighty Cthulhu for a glorious resurrection when the stars and the earth might once more be ready for them. But at that time, some force from outside must serve to liberate their bodies. The spells that preserved them intact likewise prevented them from making an initial move, and they could only lie awake in their dark and think, whilst uncounted millions of years rolled by. Even now they talk in their tombs. When, after infinities of chaos, the first men came, the great old ones spoke to the sensitive among them by molding their dreams, for only thus could their language reach the fleshy minds of mammals.
Okay, I'm kind of guessing that these are like different stories from Lovecraft, because I heard the mention of Cthulhu, which is one of the creatures from like the Lovecraft stories. So I'm not quite sure if they're like reading out like different stories from Lovecraft or not, but yeah, and I did notice in the credits it said H.P. Lovecraft, so maybe it is like all the different stories from him, so not entirely sure.
I shall never sleep calmly again when I think of the horrors that lurk ceaselessly behind life in time and in space, and of those unhallowed blasphemies that form elder stars which dream beneath the sea, known and favored by a nightmare called ready and eager to loose them onto the world whenever another earthquake shall heave their monstrous stone city again to the sun and the air.
Okay, well I can't seem to see any more blue ones, so I'm not entirely sure if I'll finish this story as well, which is kind of good. But yeah, if there is like no more to the story, and if like it's the same way as the two other ones, I may just cut it here and go into the last one, which is the red one over there. So yeah, I'll see you next part if there isn't anything else left of this.